Now to switch right over all the way across to the United States of America to talk to our favourite royal experts, correspondent extraordinaire, Kinsey Schofield. Welcome, Kins.
Good to see you, Kev.
Always a pleasure. Very interesting revelations that you've unearthed, if you like, amid Boris Johnson's current publicity blitz for his book Unleashed. Now, but first of all, I think we should... Basically, this revolves around the story, the narrative that we were told during the last days of the Queen's life, the approach to her sad death. Now, we were told, I believe, that Harry and Meghan didn't really know quite how serious her condition was. Boris Johnson, in his book, seems to suggest that they did. Tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, remember in Prince Harry's Spare where he, kind of, delicately, urgently talks about how he wishes he could have just had that one last goodbye. And we heard from Katie Nicholl around the time of the Queen's death, Katie Nicholl, the royal correspondent for Vanity Fair, that the Queen days before her death reached out to Harry and Meghan asking them to come visit her because they were in the UK so Meghan could collect another vanity trophy. And Harry and Meghan rejected the Queen's offer to come see her while she was still here on this earth. And in Boris Johnson's Unleashed, he describes the whispers that were going around about the Queen's ill health and about her decline with this cancer, and how he was warned, be prepared for what you're about to see. She's very fragile. Her spirit is well. She's bright. Her spirit is uplifted, but her body, the cancer was taking a toll on her body. And based on the timeline that he's presenting us, it does seem like Harry and Meghan might have been in the know as to how the Queen was doing, that her health was declining. So the idea is that how utterly cruel and vicious for Harry and Meghan to continue the pile-on while the Queen was literally dying. I mean, it's hard to process.
Yeah, and as I recall, Harry said that he wanted to take Meghan up to Balmoral, but the King, or the soon-to-be King Charles, still Prince Charles then, of course, said, no, I don't think that would be appropriate. And Harry went into a right huff about that, didn't he?
Oh, yes, he did. And he barks back at his dad and says that his dad is acting inappropriately, and that, he's trying to put his father, the future king, in his place, saying, you're not going to treat my wife this way. And then Prince Charles, very soon King Charles at the time, tells his son, the Princess of Wales, Catherine, is sitting this one out. She stayed home to collect the children. She wants to be with the children while all of this is unfolding. And then Prince Harry says, oh, that's all you had to say. Angry that the king didn't want Meghan Markle. This is a very delicate moment. This was a sacred moment. They knew that they were losing one of the most incredible leaders that, not just their family, but the world has ever seen. And they wanted everybody there to feel safe. They wanted everybody there to feel comfortable to mourn. And they had just watched Harry and Meghan not only selling their secrets, but so vindictively unleashing piles of hate on them after the Oprah Winfrey interview.
Yeah, and he did go up in the end on his own. And it seems as if... So Boris Johnson, by the way, I mean, I wasn't aware of this. Am I wrong that that he said that she had bone marrow cancer?
Everybody's treating this like we didn't know this, but Giles Brandwith released a book shortly after the Queen died.
To say the same, right? Yeah.
Yes, and I knew it to be true then because Giles is incredibly close to Queen Camilla. They do multiple events together. They podcast together. They do book events together. And I knew that Giles wouldn't say something like that. He would be risking his relationship with the current royal family if he were to release something like like that without their permission. So Giles Brandreth is the original individual to release this information. Boris Johnson coming in really to confirm it.
Yes, and what Boris Johnson is kind of saying, or what his book seems to imply, is that while Harry was squabbling with Prince Charles, his father, about whether or not he could bring Meghan, that Harry was not necessarily aware, or rather the narrative coming from Harry was that Harry was not necessarily aware that the Queen's condition was critical. So he's squabbling about whether or not he can bring Meghan, and in the end ends up being too late. He missed it, didn't he? So Boris Johnson seems to be implying that Harry, during this rather petty squabble, knew very well that he should have got his skates on because the Queen was going.
Yeah, I mean, and he's saying this was like an open secret that people were saying before you see the Queen, just know that this is going, don't act shocked by her physical appearance. You know, I'm trying to mentally prepare you before you see her because she was disintegrating in front of their eyes. And Harry and Meghan rejected her, according to Katie Nicholl, within the days before she passed away. And I think that that's so unforgivable, quite honestly. But, you know, just given that timeline when it comes, Boris Johnson's new information is the timeline we're given that people were in the know. When were people quietly informed that this was going on and to mentally prepare for this? We didn't have that information within Giles Brandreth's book. So, yeah, I'm sure that Harry and Meghan were left out in the cold when it came to certain information, but Johnson's book makes it sound like perhaps they had to know something was going on. I mean, even the Queen reaching out to them, eager to see them in the weeks before her death is, to me, her reaching out is an act of desperation. Like, I want to see you before it's too late.
It sounds to me like, as so often with Harry and Meghan's stories and the rest of the royal family's stories, recollections may vary.
That is the truth. Absolutely.
Well, let's go back to modern times now and talk about Harry and Meghan generally. You know, we discussed the other day this kind of professional divorce. I mean, he's now done, I assume he's back in America now, but he did 10 solo appearances in 15 days in London, New York and South Africa. And she, meanwhile, suddenly pitched up at the LA Children's Hospital Gala. And I think we discussed this the other day. It looks as if, you know, she saw all this good publicity Harry was getting for all of Harry's sins, you know, and I think he's behaved in an unforgivable way. The sins against his family, the way he has thrown grenades across the Atlantic, called them racists and skinflints and awful people, and in fact insulted the whole of the British nation, called us all racists, called us all slave drivers. He's so stupid sometimes, but it's not unforgivable behaviour. For all that, despite all that, I mean, I've never met him, but everyone says you meet this guy, he knows how to be charming. He's quite an affable bozo, nice guy. So when he's on his own, he does quite well publicity-wise. And my theory is, you know what Meghan's like? She sees someone else getting good publicity, she gets all jealous, and she's got to get some publicity for herself. And so guess what? She suddenly turns up in that red dress, that kind of weird, inappropriate red dress at this hospital children's gala in Los Angeles. And I think she's at war with her husband now on the publicity front.
I think that that's a very good observation. It's not just seeing Prince Harry getting excellent press. It's the act of desperation after somebody like the Hollywood Reporter calls you a bully, and that gives some credibility to years-old bullying accusations. But here's what one of the tabloids is saying here, and I know some people are going to be hard eye roll at the tabloids, but Radar Online has had a few very decent scoops. Around this time last year, Radar said that Harry and Meghan were having having trouble. But here's what they're saying now. One of the headlines is Harry and Meghan divorce rumors reach fever pitch as insiders admit Duke and Duchess of Sussex are leading very separate lives and will continue to do so as the Duke launches a solo world tour. And they explain that it's deeper than this professional divorce that we've been dating, or this professional divorce that we have been debating over the last few weeks. They say that Harry and Meghan have been drifting apart for a while now, with Harry's desire to return to the UK, where his old drinking buddies are, and his hope to return to the very comfortable fold of the British royal family. And it's putting a strain on their relationship, according to Radar. They say that he has absolutely loathed their bids for celebrity and stardom with Netflix and Spotify, and being ridiculed with whatever the end result is there. And he really is starting to miss England. And, his love for going to the pub and playing sports with his pals. And, Meghan wants to lead the LA life, Meghan wants to be photographed at lunch with friends, which we've seen her over the last year. We've seen her papped a couple of times in very expensive outfits at lunch with some celebrities and pals. That's the life she wants to lead. And they're just saying that, maybe there are a lot of differences here that it's harder to navigate around.
Yeah, and so he was over here in London. He was talking about that Archie and Lily, the kids, Lilibet, of course, have been blessed. This is a quote. Archie and Lily have been blessed with their mother's thick hair. He goes on to say it won't be long until Lily can sit on hers. Well, it's good that they've got their mother's thick hair, because his is disappearing fast, isn't it?
You're so bad. Well, I don't
Shouldn't
know.
I have said that?
You're so bad. When we're talking about the success Prince Harry's having versus Meghan, the Express also reported that, according to their sources, Harry and Meghan were going to sit down with their US-based team to thrash out a new strategy, because Harry's trip was so much more successful alone. And how can they focus on something similar moving forward? Yes, they're still going to be a unit, but do they need to undertake more solo engagements to shine a light on their own interests? And is Harry the superstar here? Do we need to find a way to allow Harry to shine and just kind of allow Meghan to do whatever the Hollywood stuff is that makes her happy?
So that's really interesting. So he's been on this sort of publicity blitz. As I said, 10 solo appearances in 15 days in 3 countries. And it's been a success. You've got to say that. Yeah. So his image makers, and he will realise this is good. So the success of these 10 solo appearances will obviously give rise to many more. He does better on his own in the publicity world, doesn't he?
Absolutely. And that's what the Express said, that his solo endeavors have shown their team that a new strategy is needed. And you and I know that the obvious answer there is not standing next to Meghan Markle, and certainly not standing on a red carpet. I mean, to me, it's a very bizarre thing to see a woman that insists on being referred to as a duchess standing on a very vapid, shallow step and repeat. It's just it's crazy to me to see that. Go have your picture taken somewhere else in front of a nice floral arrangement. But the idea that she wants to slowly go down that carpet, she hit the end of that carpet the other night and she went right back to the start and started taking.
You're kidding. She went round again.
I'm not kidding. That's literally how it went down. They couldn't get her off fast enough.
That's hilarious.
That's not the actions of a duchess. I would pay $1 million that we would never see the Princess of Wales do anything remotely. God no. And
we better go in a minute, Kinsey. I get carried away talking to you. I've missed my marks by a long way. But speculate how Meghan will be taking this now that Harry's making it clear that I do better on the publicity front without you. In fact, you're toxic. She is toxic after that Hollywood Reporter bullying exclusive. Speculate on how Meghan will be accepting this situation. She won't be very pleased, will she?
I imagine some American Riviera orchard china is going to be broken on the floors of the Montecito mansion. I do think it's a hard pill for her to swallow because these two believed their own hype. Meghan thought that the world was in love with her because of who she was, and she didn't understand that it was the magic of the palace, the men in the gray suits that created this fairy tale around her, and that's why we were interested in her in the first place, because of the palace, these bad guys.
Yeah, and in the end, it goes like this. You know, she married into the royal family. She's not a real royal. She's got a title and all that, but you know, she's an appendage. He's the star. He's fifth in line to the throne. He is a member of the British royal family. He is the son of the king. He's the star. You're a sort of moderately, minorly successful actress who was in a cable show, and you used to be a hostess on Deal or No Deal. I'm afraid, Meghan, that you take a very distant second place in that relationship when it comes to newspapers, to radio stations, to television stations. She's an also-ran. Better go, Kinsey. We'll talk to you next week. All the best. Have a lovely weekend.